welcome back to the channel. Adam from RC Action Australia. Today's video we're going to take a look at the Hobbywing brushed ESC, the 1060 Quicrun edition, and I just wanted to sort of basically tell people some specs on the ESC and basically my recommendations for running them in pretty much majority of my cars now. I'm switching straight over to the Hobbywing 1060 rather than using the factory kit supplied TBL-E02S. And obviously in some of the Kyosho kits, team associated kits, you don't get a speed controller at all. So these are a very, very nice, cheap and very efficient speed controller to upgrade to. So let's open the box, we'll see what you get, and then I'll show you the speed controller. I'll run you through some of the specs and obviously some of the cool things that you can do with this speed controller if you are restoring a vintage car. So if we open the box, we can see we get some nice stickers, we get some heat shrink, plus we get some double-sided tape for mounting the switch and the speed controller, so that's nice. We also get this quite extensive instruction manual, runs through all of the different modes that the speed controller can do, and talks about you know, the battery capability and the motor capabilities of the speed controller. So if we look at the speed controller itself, you can see that it is very, very compact, it's small, and that's a great feature to have because in certain remote control cars these days you are very limited to space for your speed controller, especially in like a Kyosho kit or some of the racing buggies where you're very, very limited. And it's actually quite a shame because even some of the Tamiya kits, I find that the TBL-E02S is quite big and bulky for some of the kits that you need to be able to fit that into. So yes, very, very compact and small, light, and as I said, it packs some awesome punch. So let's dive into some of the specs of the speed controller. But there, that's it up close there. It's a very, very easy to use speed controller. You've got the jumper cables which you can switch between different modes. So if we talk about the different modes, we've got forward, brake, reverse, forward and brake, or just forward and reverse. Now, for most people, you're probably just going to leave it in the factory setting, forward, brake and reverse. But I do believe in some racing scenarios you can't run reverse, so that would be an advantage that this speed controller has. And the functionality of it, it's obviously a manual jumper that you push over, unplug and push over these things down here. So yeah, no need for programming cards and getting too involved if you're new to the hobby and want to upgrade to something a bit fancier and something with a bit more capabilities for running some nicer brushed motors. Now, obviously, while we're talking about capabilities and those jumper leads down the bottom there, we have the LiPo and nickel metal hydride options. So another advantage of upgrading from, say, a standard ESC to the Hobbywing 1060 is you can run a LiPo battery and you can run it safe. Now you can run a LiPo battery on any speed controller, manual speed controller if you want. The only thing that gives you the safety on this and a lot of other speed controllers that are built for LiPos is that they have the low voltage cutoff, which in the long term saves your batteries and will obviously you know, stops your batteries from going below the store charge. But if you're new to LiPo, there's lots and lots of content out there on the internet. Gavin from RC Kicks just recently did a video on batteries and charging, so you can head over to his channel and check out one of his recent videos that probably goes into a little bit more depth about batteries, storage and charging. But back to the Hobbywing, what else can I tell you? We'll get on to some of the specs now. So it is rated for 2 and 3S LiPo. Now I've run some 3S LiPos in some of my cars. with some pretty, you know, 18, 19, 21 turn motors. They're absolutely ballistic. So, yeah, most people will probably run a 2S LiPo on this ESC. And with a 2S LiPo, you are able to run a 12 turn motor. So 12 turn and up, you can run on the Hobbywing 1060. Now, I have heard of some people running 10 turn motors and whatnot on them, and they've been fine, but obviously I always recommend following the instruction manuals, obviously because, you know, there's obviously going to be some variances in there, but definitely 12 turn motor and up on the 2S LiPo. And on 3S, it's telling us that we would run an 18 turn motor and up on 3S LiPo. So again, it offers some great motor options, even though the brushed motors are becoming, you know, harder to find now. A lot of manufacturers have gone over to the brushless setups, but you can still find some awesome brushed motors. And definitely for the beginner who just maybe wants to keep standard motor or just upgrade to something slightly better, but wants the LiPo capabilities, then this speed controller is going to be awesome for you out there. So one thing that's very, very cool about these is you can install these inside of some old servo housings. Now, because they are quite small and streamlined, they do fit inside of the old servo bodies, and you can hide them. So if you had a manual speed control setup and you had like a dummy servo, you can definitely mount this underneath or inside of an old servo housing. And, you know, you've got a very cool, reliable, up-to-date runner, but with that vintage ESC look. So that's quite cool and a nice sort of feature, given that these are quite small in size. Now, another thing that I do with these is I convert the battery power side of things to the Dean's plugs. Now, you don't have to do that. They come with a standard Tamiya plug, but all of my batteries, I use the Dean's plugs, and I do recommend that if you are going to go down the higher spec motor and a LiPo battery, I do recommend running a better plug. I have in the past melted some of the sort of standard Tamiya style plugs, so definitely worth upgrading. You can upgrade to some other battery plugs as well. It doesn't have to be a Dean's connector. There's lots to choose from. Now, one of the things that you must look out for too in relation to buying one of these is apparently there's a lot of knockoffs. Now, I've never been unfortunate enough to have bought one that's not genuine, but I have heard some people have. Now, genuine Hobbywings don't come in a They come in a box, sorry, and apparently the knockoff ones come in plastic bags. So if it turns up in a box and it's got the fancy anti-counterfeit label it's quite you know, fancy and changes colour in the light, that means that you've got a genuine article. But yeah, I've had some friends that have bought them, and you know, they're different colours, and they sort of fry, and you know, they've had some issues and they stopped working. So definitely find one that's a genuine article. Now, I bought 5 of these off RC Mart. They're on sale at the moment. I think they're around about $16 US, and I bought 5 of them plus a whole heap of other stuff. And I think they probably worked out, you know, by the time they were posted per one, somewhere around about the $30 each Australian. So great quality, and I think at my local hobby shop they don't sell these, but to get something a very similar spec, you're spending over $100. So great value. I've never had one fail, so I highly recommend them. And you will also notice that in some ready-to-run Kyosho kits, they have a very similar speed controller to this, and it has the black heat sinks. Now, apparently they are a Hobbywing 1060. They're the same spec, It's just that Hobbywing changed the colours and they don't label them as a Hobbywing when they've sold them to other brands to just put in their ready-to-run cars. So that's something cool to look out for. If you do have something very similar in a car already, but it's different colours, most likely it's just a generic Hobbywing that they've sold off to a ready-to-run manufacturer. So I'll leave the video to there today, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed something a bit different on the channel. Hopefully you enjoy some of my other videos and can hit like and subscribe because your support is very much appreciated. Now, I've got some other things coming, sort of product reviews and my thoughts, like today's video. I've just purchased some cheap servos, that they look like they had some quite good specs. Just because I was looking at maybe getting something, a low-profile servo that that was quite fast and looked quite durable. So I found a servo that had very similar specs to a $100-odd Savox servo. So I'm going to be testing that out, and I'll bring that onto the channel as well, because I think a lot of people out there need to know and be aware of some great electronics that don't break the bank and are easy and simple upgrades for anyone, or for like me, that you just want to build your car that's slightly bigger spec, give you the capabilities of the LiPo, plus running a slightly hotter motor, and without sort of damaging any factory ESCs or having problems with them. So yeah, I'll leave the video to there today. Hopefully you enjoyed something a little bit different content-wise on the channel, and you can give me a thumbs up. You can also, like I said, like, subscribe, catch us on Facebook. I'll put and Instagram. I'll put those links in the description. So get over there and check those pages out as well. So I'll see you on the next video. Bye.